Explore the world without having to leave your kitchen. Join me as I take some of the most popular dishes from around the globe and give them a healthy twist. Hello and welcome to Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. My name is Bridget Davis and you are joining me on another episode of Healthy Around the World, where today we are visiting Mexico. Yes, we are going down into Mexico, one of my favorite, I have to say, cuisines ever. In fact, the first time I discovered Mexican cuisine was on a visit to the very southern part of California. And at the very southern tip of California, you will not only find San Diego, but you will also find Baja, California. And the recipe that we're doing today, which is fish tacos, some say was invented in Baja, California. Now, Baja is a state of Mexico, despite being called California, and it is a peninsula. And because it's a peninsula, it is surrounded by ocean, which means Baja is not just famous for its amazing expansive coastline, but it's also very famous for surfing. And what I absolutely love about Baja, California is it's famous for its fish tacos. So we are creating fish tacos today. I am excited because literally until I visited America did I really begin to understand just how good Mexican food can be. So we are going to be creating fish tacos today, and these fish tacos are going to have a number of different elements. So just be aware there are a few little bits and pieces that we're going to be going through in today's cooking class that you guys can be a part of. Firstly, there is the tacos that make up the base of our fish tacos, and the tacos that I'm using today is a cauliflower based taco. So there's no wheat, there is no grain, and there is no corn. So if you'd like the recipe for my cauliflower fish tacos, I've actually done a video and I've posted the recipe on modkai.com, which is our recipe sharing platform. So you can go there and you can find the recipe for the tacos. We will also be, of course, cooking the fish, and the fish that we're doing today, traditionally fish tacos are made using a deep fried battered fish. We're going to be grilling our fish today, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that. We're also going to be adding in a pickled coleslaw. Now this coleslaw is so amazing, you're going to be wanting to add it into more than just this taco recipe. So we're making a pickled coleslaw, we're going to be doing a crema, which is a type of creamy based sauce, and also what taco would be without the wonderful style salsa. So we're going to be making a fresh tomato salsa as well. So there's a few elements I was saying that we need to be a part of, but nothing too scary, because once you've made these elements, then you have an endless amount of food and amount of recipes that you can then create. So let's get into the recipe. So as I was saying before, the first thing that you need to think about is the actual taco or tortilla that we're going to be using to serve our fish tacos in. And I have produced a cauliflower based taco or tortilla recipe. I'm going to show you what they look like now. And they are pretty awesome. So the tacos that I'm using for the base of our fish taco are literally made from cauliflower. There's a bit of spice in there. There's also a few eggs, and that's pretty much it. The next thing that we need to think about, and this is actually a really cool step, and I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make the pickled coleslaw. Now, what I want to say about pickled coleslaw is it's coleslaw that's put on another level, and it tastes really amazing, and there are so many ways that you can use this coleslaw. So please don't think that it's just tacos that you're going to be using to make this coleslaw. You can make it on so many amazing things. So we're going to make the coleslaw first. Grabbing up my big bowl, I am going to be using my mandolin here. Now I have a Japanese style mandolin. I'll share a link for you guys because this is such a great piece of equipment to have in the kitchen. It means you don't have to do all the hard work of chopping yourself. So if you don't have a mandolin, of course you can chop your cabbage, but just make sure if you are chopping it by hand, you do it as finely as possible. And the way to make sure that your coleslaw is really, really fine is if you are using a really sharp knife. So just have a think about that. As I was saying, I'm going to be using my mandolin, and I'm going to be using firstly a bit of white cabbage that I have here. But I thought what actually might be really cool as well is if I just put a bit of red cabbage through our coleslaw too. So taking up a decent chunk of white cabbage and using my mandolin set on a really, as you can see, very fine setting, so I get amazingly fine strips. You just want to go through and just give that a really good grating, making sure that your cabbage is really, really thinly sliced. This is going to mean that when you taste it, it's going to taste sweet, and it's really interesting when you go sugar-free. So when you no longer put like refined sugar in your food, or you have foods that are really high in sugar, you can taste the natural sweetness in foods. And one of the things that really, I suppose, kind of freaked me out when I was first going on my health kick was cabbage is actually quite sweet. You wouldn't really realize it until you've actually taken, like I said, refined sugar out of your diet. So give your cabbage a really good grating, just like I'm doing. Watch the fingers, of course. And as I was saying before, you don't have to use a mandolin. It is so much easier. But if you don't have a mandolin, you can also finely slice it with a knife. So a little bit of red cabbage goes a long way. Let me just get rid of that piece. And the red cabbage is there not to just give us color, but not sure if you guys know this, red cabbage actually has lower calories than white cabbage, and pretty awesome, and I'm really happy with that. So a good grating of those two cabbages is the first thing you want to do. To our coleslaw, just to give it a little bit of excitement, a little bit of energy, I'm also going to be adding in a little bit of fennel. You don't need much, just a little bit. And once again, using your mandolin is really going to help to keep the fennel nice and thin. Because one of the things about fennel is that if you slice it really thick, it'll have quite an overpowering aniseed or licorice type flavor. When you slice it thinly, it becomes less obvious. So a bit of fennel, about a quarter of a bulb of fennel is going to work just nicely. I don't need this anymore, I can put that away. And as well as the fennel and all the different types of vegetables that we now have in there, we also want to add a little bit of pickledness, because remember, this is pickled coleslaw. And ideally, and the reason why I'm making this first is ideally your coleslaw will actually sit for a little bit. You'll leave it to sit and to start to marinate and start to lightly pickle for about an hour. So first thing you want to do when you are making your tacos, your fish tacos, is start off with your cauliflower wraps. They can literally last in the fridge for a week. You know, you can just make them and leave them in the fridge so you're ready to make your tacos. So even if you make them the day before, it's perfect. But your actual pickled coleslaw, ideally you make it the first thing you make when you're doing the rest of the fillings for your tacos, and you leave it to sit for about an hour. So in my jar here, I have my pickled onions, and this is the easiest way to make a pickled coleslaw, is you start with pickles. Now if you haven't ever used my pickled onions before, they are so good. They are so fabulous. The recipe for these are in my green book, which is more from Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. The recipe is in there, but I also have the recipe uploaded to Modkai, which is our recipe sharing platform online. So if you don't have the green book, Bridget's Healthy, more from Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, you can actually get the recipe for my pickles, my pickled onions, on Modkai online as well. So I'm going to be adding into my pickled onions, into my coleslaw, my pickled onions, and I probably want to add about 3 tablespoons or something along those lines of the onions. And as well as that, just to really give this coleslaw some real bite, real energy, we're also going to be adding in the liquid. So I'm going to be adding about 5 tablespoons of the liquid is going in there. If you don't have my pickled onions, or you're not a fan of pickles, you could at this point in time use raw red onion, but sliced once again very, very thinly, and instead of pickle juice, just your raw unfiltered apple cider vinegar would work at this point as well. So you could do that if you want to. So we are going to add another acid into here as well, and the other acid we're going to use, which is probably what I think about when I think about Mexican food, and that is lime. So we're going to put a bit of fresh lime juice in there. So ideally, take your lime and give it a bit of a squish on the bench. This helps to give you access to the juice that is locked inside that lime. So give it a bit of a squish. And you want to add approximately sort of 2 to 3 tablespoons of lime juice. But you know, that's kind, like I said, that's kind of approximate. That's probably a tablespoon there. I'm probably going to add the other side of the lime because, you know, sometimes limes are not that juicy. They're not as juicy as lemons. So I'm going to add the other lime there. Give it a bit of a, oh yeah, beautiful. The smell already is phenomenal. Let me tell you, it is so good already. So we'll put that in there like that. Give it a bit of a mix through. Already coming off, gorgeous. I could probably stop at this point in time because already this smells like a really good pickled coleslaw. Let me tell you, it just, woo, fantastic. But we just want to add a few more little bits and pieces into it just to make it really, really awesome. And the little bits and pieces we're going to be adding is, I'm going to add a little bit of finely grated black pepper. This is just going to help to just, you know, balance out a little bit of heat is going in there as well. So a little bit of finely grated black pepper. Beautiful. And let's not forget that we should also be considering making sure that we have a bit of mineral salt in our coleslaw as well. So that goes in there, a bit of a pinch of mineral salt. And the last thing I'm going to do just to finish off this coleslaw and really make it complete is in my damp tea towel here, I have some fresh herbs. So I'm going to be using today a little bit of, look at this. This is glorious. Some coriander is going to go in there because I love coriander, and it works very, very well with the flavors of Mexican cuisine. And I'm also going to put a bit of mint in there too, just to make it delicious and wonderful. So if you're not a fan of coriander, I would probably just go mint. But of course, you could also use parsley. You know, you don't have to just use coriander and mint, but whatever herbs you do decide to use, make sure they're very light, make sure they're very bright as well. So, you know, things you don't want to use like rosemary and thyme because they're quite heavy flavored spices. You want to go with things that are very, very light and generous in their flavor. And if you think mint, if you think coriander, basil, parsley, all of those types of herbs are really, really fresh and they have wonderful top notes. So as I was saying, I'm going to be using coriander and mint. Probably want a couple of tablespoons per, maybe 2 to 4 tablespoons of freshly chopped herbs. I am going to be using the stalks because there is so much flavor in the stalks. So just giving yourself a really tight package and then just roughly chopping through. Like I said, you want to add, oh my gosh, the smell already is so wonderful, so incredibly good. So about 2 to 4 tablespoons of your fresh herbs go in there. I will put those there. I might need them later feel free to do a double chop that way as well. If you think you need to make it a bit smaller, and then the fresh herbs just go inside our beautiful bowl of pickled coleslaw. And as I was saying, please don't think that the only way that you can use this coleslaw is with tacos. You can use it with any type of protein. If you're just cooking chicken or steak or whatever, it does not matter. This goes really well in a gut healing bowl too. So feel free to make this coleslaw. And if you can let it sit for about an hour, just so it gets into pickle status, then that is pretty good as well. So that is now done. I'm going to put that aside. It is literally complete. To prepare the fish part of the taco, now traditionally, as I was saying, a fish taco is made using a deep fried piece of white fish, and that deep fried fish is usually done with a beer style batter. So we're not going to be deep frying our fish today, and we're not going to be using white fish. In fact, I'm going to be using salmon. Because we're not deep frying the fish, I thought what I would do is add a very oily and a very unctuous tasting fish to our tacos to make sure that we still get that wonderful feeling of things being very, very decadent. So I'm using salmon today for our tacos. And just make sure when you are picking your salmon, make sure the skin is attached to your salmon, not your salmon. Make sure the skin is attached and there is no bones as well in your salmon. So I've got 2 pieces of salmon, which is about 350 to 400 grams, which is 14 ounces of salmon. Remember, this is enough for 6 tacos. And in order to I suppose to make up for the fact that we're not battering and deep frying our fish, we're going to be making a sprinkle or a topping for our salmon that has all those flavors that are so incredibly popular down in Baja. So Baja fish tacos are made using a beer batter. So in order to get the flavors of beer, and we're not using beer, I'm actually going to be using a little bit of yeast, because beer is made from hops, and hops is very yeasty or bread smelling. So we're going to be using some nutritional yeast. So into my bowl, I'm going to be adding in 4 heaped teaspoons of nutritional yeast is going in there first. And as well as that, having done my research, traditional batter, beer batter for fish tacos uses oregano as well, dried oregano. So I'm going to be putting in oregano. I'm going to be using 2 teaspoons of dried oregano is going in there. As well as the oregano, let's also consider using a little bit of garlic powder or dried garlic. And with that, we're going to be putting in a teaspoon of dried garlic powder. You may see that I have some mustard on my bench too. So yes, we are using mustard. Once again, who would have thought that there is mustard, yellow mustard in the traditional Baja beer batter, but there is. So we're using a mustard powder. And you don't want too much because mustard can be quite big flavor-wise and quite strong. So you want half a teaspoon of dried mustard powder. Goes in there too. Let's add a bit of sweetness. The sweetness that I'm going to be adding today is inulin, and we want to add in 2 teaspoons of inulin powder is going in there. We're just going to add a little bit of fiber, but of course we're going to be adding a little bit of sweetness as well. Because what I'm trying to do when it comes to the seasoning, I'm really wanting to balance out those flavors. So this is going to be put onto the top of our salmon as we grill it, and we want to make sure we've got a lot of flavor, so it's a big punchy flavor. So let's add a little bit of black pepper into the mix. A little grinding of black pepper is going in there again. And you know, don't be shy when it comes to black pepper. And you know, pepper is it's a little bit spicy, it's a little bit hot. So don't be shy with your black pepper as well. Good grinding of black pepper. And we're also going to be adding in a pinch of our mineral salt as well. So a pinch of mineral salt goes in there. And what we are left with is a pretty decent sprinkle for our salmon. So my salmon is here. Remember, skin on, pins gone, which is the bones. They're also known as pins. They've been taken out, and the pins or the bones are usually at this end. So at this end here, this is the belly end, and the bones you will normally find in this part. And all you need to do is just kind of run your fingers along the salmon, and you will feel the bones. And the best way to get rid of the bones is tweezers, and you can just literally pull them out. That's what's called pin boning your salmon. So I can feel through. There's no bones on my salmon, which is good, but I'm happy because the skin is there, and the skin is there to protect that delicate flesh. So taking up our Baja style sprinkle or our Baja style fish seasoning, you want to sprinkle the top of the salmon, and be generous at this point as well. You really want to be generous. You want to give that salmon some really, really good flavor. And the way that you're going to do that, you know, because if you think about like deep fried fish, it is literally coated in a batter. So we're grilling our fish, or we're going to pop it into the pan here. But you could also pop your fish into the air fryer or the oven, set at 180 degrees. It'll take about 10 minutes. But we're going to be doing ours in the pan today. Look, I used almost all of that seasoning. So just be generous when it comes to the seasoning. So my pan is on. As I was saying, you could use it, you can put it in the oven, 180 degrees, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You could put it in the air fryer if you wanted to. But we are doing it in the pan. I have my pan on medium temperature. And I'm just going to very lightly spray the base of my pan with a little bit of coconut oil. And this is just so that the skin doesn't stick. Just a little bit of coconut oil is going to go on there. And then taking up your fillets, just lay them into the pan, just like that. Wonderful. The sound is good. And then taking your lid, put your lid on top. Now you want to leave these in the pan to cook. They're probably going to take, depending on the size, anything from 8 to 12 minutes to cook through. So we're doing it, like I said, on a medium temperature, nothing too hot. I don't want to burn the base of that skin. I just want to allow that fish enough time to cook through very gently and very, very tender as well. Okay, while our salmon is cooking in our pan, a lovely coated salmon, let's consider making the crema, which is like a white sauce, a very creamy white sauce that we're going to use as well to put onto our tacos. So a traditional Mexican crema is made using either cream or sour cream, but the way that we're going to make our crema today is we're going to be using unsweetened coconut yogurt. Now the crema is very easy to make. You just need a bowl. You just need your sweetened coconut yogurt, of course. Just grab enough of a spoon. You want to add into your bowl a couple of tablespoons of the sweetened coconut yogurt. Look at that. That's just gorgeous already. You could probably just add coconut yogurt. We're just going to make it just a little bit more tasty. Just a little bit. So that's the first thing. So we take up a couple of tablespoons. We're going to be adding in a bit of lime juice as well. Once again, give it a bit of a squish on the board just to make sure that we extract as much juice from our lime as possible. And you want to add to your crema a couple teaspoons of lime juice. So 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of lime juice. Perfect. We can always add a little bit more if we need it. And we're going to add a little bit of pepper as well, just a little grinding of pepper. And let's also add a little pinch of mineral salt too. A little pinch of salt. And what we're looking for when we're making this crema is we're looking for a sauce-like consistency. As you can see at the moment, that is quite thick. And we want to get it down to a point where it's a little bit more dribble-like in consistency. And the way that we do that is by adding a little bit of water. So depending on how thick your coconut yogurt is to start will determine how much water you need to add into your crema. So just start off with just a dribble and then go through and give it a bit of a mix. See what's happening. The best way to tell if you were at sauce consistency is to see how it falls off the spoon. That's still kind of chunking off the spoon. I know I need a little bit more water. Mix it through. We're getting there. It's kind of almost dripping off the spoon. So maybe another little bit of water goes in. And you keep on doing this until you get the consistency of a sauce that you're able to really dribble well over your taco. That is looking good. Now, ideally as well, what you want to do now is you want to have a little bit of a taste. Because what you might find, it tastes pretty good, but you might taste really good. You might need to add a little bit more salt. We don't want this too acidic. We want it to be a little bit more creamy than acid, because there's a good amount of acid in our pickled coleslaw already. So you want to kind of have this at a point where it's really well balanced with not too much acid. So keep on having a bit of a taste. See what you think. A little bit more salt if you need to. A little bit more of that black pepper as well. Just until you get to the point where you're happy that you've got a really creamy sauce as opposed to a really strong acidic sauce. Consistency is good. Have a bit of a taste. Yes, wonderful. That is gorgeous. That is going to be so nice with the coleslaw. So that is our crema set and done. I want to talk to you guys now about the salsa while our salmon finishes its cooking process. And the salsa that I made earlier is actually really easy to do. So it's literally diced up onion, diced up tomato, there's a little bit of fresh herb in there, and there's also a little, like herb meaning coriander and cilantro, and there's just a little bit of chili. And the chili that I used in the salsa is a little bit of jalapeno, which is a very famous type of chili from Mexico. So I have a little bit of pickled jalapeno in there, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and that is basically it. So our salsa, I will give you the recipe for the salsa, because you can either add it or you don't have to. I mean, for me traditionally, I've got to have salsa with any type of Mexican food that I'm having, because salsa basically means sauce. So this is what's going to give us our light brightness, our freshness, these wonderful, wonderful flavors. But you know what? If you don't want to add salsa, you don't have to. I suggest you do. I'm going to give you the recipe for the salsa as well. All we need to do now is literally wait for our fish to finish cooking and then put everything together. Wow. My God, amazing. So how to tell if your fish is cooked? Pretty easy. Because what you want to do is just kind of be able to pick it up. As I was saying, depending on the size of the fish, 8 to 10 minutes in your pan with the lid on. Whoa. And what you want to do is to pick up a piece of your fish, just like this. Let's put it on a plate. And what your fish should be able to do is, when you touch it very gently, it should be able to flake away, which it does amazingly, easily well. So we know that our fish is cooked, which is wonderful. So let's just take this piece out as well. Well, this one's really cooked. It's telling me, I'm done, Bridge. Take me out of the pan. Woo. We'll do that. Beautiful. Oh, it tastes so good. Tastes so good. Okay, good stuff is happening. So our fish is ready. All our components for our tacos is ready. I want to suggest to you guys that you might want to do this. So on my tray here, I have all my components pretty much ready for my tacos. So we have our salsa, which is in there. We have our pickled coleslaw. We have our crema. And of course, we have our cauliflower tacos. So ideally, you put all of these things on the table alongside your cooked fish, and you let everyone else fill their tacos for themselves. So you don't have to do all the work. I mean, that is the ideal scenario. Think of Taco Tuesday, think of taco party, think of taco whatever, whereas you've done all the work of combining everything into different types of bowls, and then your guests or your family or your friends then do the other work, which is putting the tacos together. Now I'm going to show you how to put together a taco so that your friends can then join in and do their own as well. A lot of you probably already know how to do this. I know you do, in fact. So let's do it anyway. Don't you agree? Let's do it anyway. So putting that over here, I'm going to grab myself up a plate. And the first thing, of course, that we want to do is we need a taco. So let's grab ourselves up a taco. Look at him. Cauliflower taco, so pliable, so wonderful for making your own taco right now. So cauliflower taco goes on first. The next thing that we're going to think about is putting on a little bit of this wonderful fish, this wonderful cooked salmon, and I'm just going to flake it away into small pieces and then put it down the center of my taco just like that. Small pieces done there. Perfect. Feel free to lick your fingers like I'm doing. My gosh, it tastes so good. All right, fish is done. Put you over there. The next thing, let's go with our pickled coleslaw. Don't be shy when it comes to the pickled coleslaw. Please don't be shy. That's going to go in down the center as well. Some salsa, of course. A little bit of salsa. It's going to go on. Oh my gosh. Things are getting good now, or crazy. However you want to look at it. I'm pretty happy though. Salsa goes on. And then of course, the last thing that we're going to finish off with is a little bit of that wonderful coconut yogurt crema that we made. And just go dab, dab, dab. I'm not sure about you guys, but this makes me very, very excited. In more ways than you could possibly know. So you know how to eat a taco, right? You pick it up, you lift it to your face. The taco doesn't move, your head does. Remember, that's really important. And you eat your taco. Look at that. This is my healthy version of a fish taco. We're using grilled salmon. We have the most amazing pickled coleslaw with all those probiotics and prebiotics. There's a wonderful salsa, a little bit of crema, and of course we're doing all of that in a cauliflower taco.